Hey everyone, Nathan here with my weekly addictions, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different on the channel. But today we are going to go a little bit more in depth on two specific colognes. That one is the original one that was released in 1978, you might know it, and the other is basically a clone of that from a cloning house. So we're basically just going to go over the differences and whether or not the clone is worth the money. Or whether you should just fork out a little bit more to get the original. So let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, to introduce them, we have the original Polo EDT, Polo Ralph Lauren. This is the 4 ounce. I believe I did buy this one at retail, and after tax it was probably 100 to 105 bucks. At one point it was selling for $80, but now at retail it usually sells for just around 100. Now this is one of the reformulations. You can tell because of the atomizer style. They used to be the very tall atomizers. And we will be using a couple different sources. I'm going to pull out my phone here, and we will be looking at the different notes, and I'll break that down a little bit. And then we'll also be spraying them both on tester strips and on skin, so you guys can get a little bit of a feel for what they smell like. So first off, let's start with Classic Match. Well, price-wise, this is $10.40, much cheaper than the Polo. Not sure what their shipping handling is. Most likely, you'll probably end up paying around $12, maybe $15 max is what I would say. But this is also a 2.5 fluid ounces, whereas you can buy this in, I believe, a 2, a 1, a 2, a 4, and a 6, I believe. I'm not sure about the 2, but I know you can buy it in a 4 and a 6. Let's go ahead and spray these on testers. I'll give you a little look at the atomizer. Pretty cheap atomizer. Doesn't really even have much of a color, it's just kind of crimped red onto the middle. Not a bad second spray. It doesn't feel even. We'll let that dry down a sec while we spray the Polo. This is a much better atomizer. Going to do 2 sprays of each. Oh yeah. Well, let's start with Classic Match. I've seen a couple of videos that talk about it, but never really in depth. So first off, the atomizers. That's definitely one of the big things you're going to be paying for when you buy the Polo, is just better quality. Not only atomizer, but the cap does click into place. This cap is basically plastic on the inside but aluminum on the outside, and it does have this little ring around it, so it pops in place. You technically can pick this up from the cap. I still don't recommend picking up most colognes from the cap, especially this one. You really shouldn't. It is plastic cap that has been basically painted. You can actually see, I think it's on this side you can see the paint is chipping off. So yeah, very cheap, but for the price, it doesn't smell necessarily bad. It definitely is very similar to Polo. Yeah, to my nose, it's not as smooth. It pops off a little bit more, almost like a grainy texture to me. But at the top, you definitely get a lot of citrus with some woody and almost like a leather note. So it's definitely very citrus, woody, and a little bit green. Overall, it doesn't smell bad. Usually, performance-wise, I get a solid 5 to 6 hours out of this one, whereas Polo I can get anywhere from 6 to 9, sometimes even more. Depending on the weather, I can get sometimes even 12 hours out of it. So let's go ahead and look at the breakdown that Classic Match gives on their website. It says it is a citrus and woody scent, which is a little bit what we talked about. It says a long-lasting fragrance formulated with premium quality oils. For the price, I would say long-lasting is a decent description, but for the most part, not really that long-lasting when compared to the original. But overall, for a cheapie, I mean, most of the time they barely even last 5, so 5 to 6 hours out of this one is not that bad, especially for $10.40. I'm using the Fragrantica for the original Polo. Fragrantica states that top notes are juniper berry, artemisia, caraway, basil, coriander, bergamot. The middle notes are pine tree needles, leather, chamomile, pepper, carnation, geranium, jasmine, and rose, which, by the way, the dry down is by far the best part of Polo, in my personal opinion. Base notes are tobacco, oak moss, patchouli, cedar, vetiver, musk, and amber. So a lot going on in the original. Now, that's not necessarily to say that you were going to pick up every single one of those notes. I know in the reformulation, when I looked at Ulta website, it didn't have all of those notes. It's a little bit more simplified. So, definitely off the top of this one right out of the bottle, you get a lot of that musk, that pine, citrus. I think the citrus is definitely covered up a little bit more in this one than in Classic Match because it has so much going on in it. This one's so elegant though, I love it. So between the two, if I had to recommend one, I would say go with the original Polo. But if you are someone who doesn't really want to spend that much money on a fragrance, you're just getting into it, and maybe you just want to dip your toes in the water, then Classic Match might be a good one to go. This one doesn't necessarily smell bad, but side by side, it definitely, you can tell it's a little bit cheaper, I guess. Now the main thing that I really hate about Classic Match versus Polo is it doesn't have much change throughout the lifespan. Polo is a fragrance that to me changes throughout pretty much from the top to the base. It has a lot of change to it. So in the top you get a lot of those green citrus and you get that pine, a little bit of woods. And then in the mid towards the dry down you get a lot of this floral note with some spice still added to it. But to me it comes off more creamy and a little bit sweet. And then in the base, you really just get that kind of cedar wood. But to me, it almost tastes, unless you're into that, it almost smells kind of like rose mixed with vanilla on top of cedar wood. And I love the base and the dry down on this one. Just a fantastic fragrance. So yeah, that's pretty much the breakdown of both of these. I mean, for $10.40, so around $12 after tax or shipping, maybe 15 for the price. Classic Match is not at all a bad buy. Polo you can get for right around, I think, $40 or $50, and then you can get it at Walmart for about $60. So if you don't trust the online fragrance dealers, then you can go to a Walmart and they should have it for right around that price, which is definitely still a lot cheaper than buying it retail. So that's pretty much it for this video. I'm not actually going to spray it on skin. I was going to, but honestly, I've sprayed on skin enough to know the difference, and it doesn't really come off much different from the testers. But if you guys do want to have another video where I just test them out on skin, I have done it before, and the Classic Match started to definitely dry down and wear off after the first hour and a half to 2 hours. Whereas Polo was still very strong. And then Classic Match, around the time that had fully faded, Polo was just entering into the dry down stage. So Polo is definitely a lot better on longevity if that's what you're wanting. But again, if price is what you're really looking for, then Classic Match isn't a bad bet. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.